Welcome to DarkFrame Stories. A man was burying his beloved grandmother with his own hands. It was a sunny day, but the man's face was grim. He had just finished filling up the grave and was placing the final stone on top when suddenly his phone rang. The sound echoed strangely in the silent graveyard. Confused, he pulled out his phone from his pocket and saw an unknown caller. He answered the call hesitantly. A voice from the other end said, "You shouldn't have buried me." Startled, the man quickly ended the call, assuming it was a prank. But then it rang again. This time, he let it go to voicemail. The eerie message that followed sent chills down his spine. "I'm trapped inside the coffin. Please help me." Was it really his grandmother's voice? Or was someone playing a cruel joke? Okay? What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments below. As the story progresses, things take a turn for the worse. The man's face drained of color. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. It couldn't be possible, could it? Unable to shake off the unsettling feeling, he decided to take a closer look. The grave was freshly dug, the wood of the coffin still strong, and the name engraved on it confirmed it was his grandmother S. But how could she be alive? And calling him from inside the coffin, he was about to find out. He slowly began to dig up the grave, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. As the soil piled up, he rushed to check the coffin. His hands trembled as he reached for the clasp, his mind racing with possibilities. With the lid open, he peered inside, half expecting to see his grandmother sitting up. But there was no one inside. The coffin was empty. He looked around, his eyes searching every corner. Where could she be? Had she somehow managed to escape the coffin? Odd. Or was this a cruel trick played by someone? The mystery deepened. Then he noticed something odd. There was a small gap near the bottom of the coffin where something small could fit. He leaned closer and saw a note wedged in the crack. He carefully pulled it out, his heart pounding. The note was small, folded several times. Unfolding it, he saw a single line written in his grandmother's familiar handwriting. "Don't answer." He stared at the words, confused. Why would his grandmother leave such a cryptic note? And why had she specifically told him not to answer? Was she trying to warn him about something? The questions swirled in his head, but he had more pressing concerns. Where was his grandmother? Was she in danger? He knew he couldn't just leave her to whatever fate had befallen her. He needed to find her, but how? Then he heard it again, the phone ringing. He pulled it out, his hands shaking. The caller ID showed the same unknown number from earlier. Hesitantly, he answered. On the other end, a voice eerily similar to his grandmother's said, "Why didn't you let me finish my story?" He stumbled back, shocked. How could his grandmother be calling him from beyond the grave? Was this real or some elaborate hoax? Fear clutched at his heart. He wanted to end the call, but the voice continued. "I only had one more thing to tell you." Curiosity and fear battled within him. Should he listen? What else could she possibly have to say? Before he could respond, the voice went on. There are 2 more souls in there with me. They want to come out too." His blood ran cold. What did this mean? Were there other bodies buried in the graveyard? And why did they want to come out? He tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. The voice on the phone seemed to sense his fear. "Don't be scared, my darling grandson," it said. "We won't hurt you. We just need your help." His grandmother's voice was pleading now, and he couldn't bear the thought of her trapped and helpless. He knew he had to act. He asked, "How can I help you? Where are you?" The voice whispered something that made his blood run cold. "Here with you." He listened intently. Then came a soft knock, like someone tapping the surface of the coffin. He looked down at the phone in his hand, the screen flashing the caller ID of his own number. It couldn't be possible, could it? Suddenly, the knock on the coffin grew louder, more insistent. Then he heard a voice, raspy and weak, coming from under the ground. "Let me out! Please, let me out!" It was his grandmother's voice, filled with urgency. His heart raced. Was she really trapped inside the coffin? As he stared at the grave, a dark shape began to emerge. Shocked, he watched as the earth moved, revealing the outline of a hand clawing its way out. Hope surged through him. Maybe his grandmother wasn't gone. She was alive and reaching out for help. But as the figure emerged, he saw it wasn't his grandmother. It was someone else, someone who had been buried alongside her. He stumbled back, his mind reeling. But the figure didn't stop. It pulled itself out of the grave, revealing a gaunt face and hollow eyes. It looked like it had been dead for years. He screamed, fear paralyzing him. Why wasn't his grandmother the one emerging? Where was she? The emaciated figure shambled toward him, its eyes fixed on him with a terrifying intensity. It opened its mouth, revealing teeth that were too sharp, too long to be human. He had to get away, to run as fast as he could. But his feet seemed glued to the spot. Fear choked his screams as the creature lunged at him, its icy fingers wrapping around his throat. He thrashed, trying to free himself, but it was no use. Its grip was like a vice. And then he saw it. The creature's eyes flashed, not with malice, but with recognition. It opened its mouth again, and this time he heard his grandmother's voice. "It's me. I need your help." Her voice was urgent, desperate. He struggled to understand. Was this his grandmother? Was it really her trapped inside the creature? With a final surge of strength, he managed to push the creature back. Gasping for breath, he looked around frantically for an escape, but there was nowhere to go. The creature lunged again, and this time he was ready. Summoning all his strength, he pushed it away, creating a small gap between them. "Please," his grandmother pleaded, "kill it," but he couldn't. Looking into its eyes, he saw not a monster, but his grandmother trapped within. He hesitated, torn between fear and love for his grandmother. Then he remembered the note, "Don't answer." If he didn't answer the phone when she called from the grave, she wouldn't be in danger. He had to make a choice: end his grandmother's life or let her remain trapped forever. With a heavy heart, he took the creature's life. A blinding light erupted from the grave. Startled, he shielded his eyes, then looked up. To his astonishment, his grandmother stood there, bathed in light. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice echoing with gratitude. "You saved me." He rushed to her, relief washing over him. She was real. She was here. But then he felt it. The ground beneath their feet rumbled, and the creature's body began to glow. "Run!" his grandmother screamed. "It's not done yet." He didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed her hand, and they ran as fast as they could. Behind them, the creature rose, its eyes blazing with renewed life. They kept running until they reached the road. Glancing back, they saw the creature stumbling out of the graveyard, its gaze fixed on them. They stopped, their breaths heavy. Then he noticed something odd. The creature was no longer emaciated. It had the face of a young woman, but it wasn't his grandmother. Then he heard a voice. "Who let me out?" He turned to see another figure emerging from the grave. It was the second body that his grandmother had mentioned. The woman looked confused, then spotted him and his grandmother. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. Before he could respond, more figures rose from the graves behind them. All of them were emaciated, their eyes vacant. "Who am I?" one of them asked, his voice hollow. His grandmother turned to him, her face pale. "You have to stop them," she said urgently. "You're the only one who can." She explained everything that had happened, how they were trapped, and how he could help them. He looked at the creatures, their eyes pleading for help. He knew he had to do something. He couldn't let them wander around lost and confused. But what? That's when he noticed something strange. All of them were wearing wedding rings. Suddenly, he got an idea. He had an old book about ancient rituals. Maybe there was something in there that could help. He raced home, his mind racing. Searching through the ancient book, he found a ritual to send spirits back to their graves. He gathered the necessary items: a white cloth, some flowers, and a candle. Returning to the graveyard, he laid the cloth on the ground and placed the flowers on it. Lighting the candle, he began the ritual, his voice echoing in the stillness. As he chanted the words, the creatures started to stir, drawn to the light and the sound of his voice. One by one, they approached the cloth, their eyes filled with curiosity. He continued the ritual, focusing his energy on guiding them back to their graves. Finally, it was time for the last one. The woman who had asked, "Who let me out?" As he approached her, she looked at him, her eyes clear for a moment. "Thank you," she whispered, "for helping me find peace." She stepped onto the cloth, then disappeared. When he turned to his grandmother, she was gone. He looked around, confused. Then he heard a voice, "Looking for me." She stood beside him, smiling. "I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye properly," she said. "But I had to make sure you understood. It's not personal." He smiled back, tears welling up in his eyes. "I understand," he whispered. "Take care of yourself." She kissed his forehead, then disappeared. He turned to leave when he heard a voice. "Wait." He turned back to see the woman standing there. "You never told me," she said. "Who let me out?" He paused. Then, with a gentle smile, he said, "You let yourself out." She stared at him, then at the grave behind him. A slow understanding dawned on her face. She nodded, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "Thank you," she whispered. "I finally remember." And with that, she walked away, leaving him alone in the graveyard. In the silence that followed, he knew he wasn't truly alone. His grandmother and the others were finally at peace, and that was all that mattered. Thank you for watching. Share, comment, and subscribe for more. And don't forget to hit that bell icon before it hits you.